What is up, enthusiasts? It is Cedar Flags here, and welcome back to another one of my videos. Yes, my voice is still kinda gone, but oh well, the show goes on, and today, I want to continue on to my Never Built series. I absolutely love making these videos, and I can tell that all of you absolutely love when I post them. So, today, I wanted to take a little bit of a different approach. Usually in this series, I look for either roller coasters or attractions that weren't built, or I look at coaster models that weren't built. But today, I wanted to sort them by a certain category: height. Yes, of course there were attractions all over the world that were proposed but never built, but today, I wanted to look at the tallest amusement park attractions that were proposed, or even broke ground, but were never completed. And you may be shocked, one of them is in the quadruple digits. Let's get right into this. This is Cedar Flags, and today, we will be looking at the tallest attractions never built. First, we are going to start off at a very well-known attraction. This is Drakenspeyer at Busch Gardens, Williamsburg, and let me just say this ride has a very rocky history. It was going to be 355 feet or 108 meters tall, well over the minimum requirement for a giga coaster, and by far the tallest attraction at Busch Gardens, Williamsburg. The plans were leaked on a Busch Gardens Williamsburg fan site in January of 2020, just months after the announcement of Pantheon. Now, if you don't know, Pantheon is an intimate multi-launch that goes up into the late 100s, but nowhere near 300 feet. A few months after, another intimate multi-launch coaster leaked that had an over 355-foot spire, Drakenspeyer, and this had a multi-pass launch as well. This was very similar to Pantheon, and people became suspicious. The pre-pandemic plan was to have two intimate multi-launches on each sides of the Rhine River, but unfortunately, due to the economic downturn of COVID-19, SeaWorld scrapped this plan entirely and is only opening Pantheon. But it gets deeper. Many people speculate that both of these coasters were originally going to be one coaster, even before the downturn of COVID-19, even before Pantheon. This was known as Project Madrid, but possibly due to financial reasons of this being a massive project, they decided to scale it down to Pantheon and maybe add Drakenspeyer as a separate ride. Unfortunately, we're only getting one of them, but out of the two, it looks much better despite its much shorter height. Up next, we go down to Miami, Florida to look at the tallest proposed drop tower at the time. At 540 feet or 165 meters tall, this was Skydrop Miami. But this was a part of a much bigger project. It was a part of Skyrise. Skyrise was announced in the early 2010s and would basically be a super tall entertainment complex and observation tower. Think of a massive entertainment complex, but condensed into one observation tower. And on the side of the observation tower, a massive 500-foot plus drop tower. This would be by Intamin, and at the time would be the world's tallest. It would face the ocean and have an absolutely marvelous view of both the ocean and the skyline of the city of Miami. This tower did not come without controversy though. The company building the tower promised that Miami residents would not pay a nickel in taxes, but they were caught otherwise. Anyways, the tower broke ground in 2019 among the controversy, but was closed in 2020 due to, well, you guessed it, COVID. And COVID was really the last straw. With the economic downturn of COVID as well as the people that were mad, well, this ended up not working, and in June of 2021, the deal was officially sealed, and Skyrise and Skydrop would just be nothing but a memory. In recent decades, there has been a trend of major cities adding Ferris wheels. Chicago, London, Singapore, Orlando, Las Vegas, the list goes on and on. Did you know though, at one point in time, New York City was trying to outdo all of them? Yes, in September of 2012, Mayor Bloomberg, the mayor at the time, announced New York City's own Ferris wheel, the New York Wheel. Located on Staten Island and rising to a height of 630 feet or 192 meters, this was designed to be a brand new landmark for the beautiful city. Inspired by the London Eye and many other city Ferris wheels, this would overlook Manhattan in a beautiful setting and at the same time promote more tourism for the Staten Island borough, which is lacking in tourism compared to other parts of the city. The Ferris wheel was originally going to open up in 2014, but then it kept getting pushed back by the contractors, 2015, 2016, 2017, and it lost funding by the city with time. and by 2018, there were so many delays that the city refused to fund them anymore, and the contractor company had to refuse to continue to make this Ferris wheel. So, it was officially canceled, right? Well, in 2019, the city of New York said that they still want to build a Ferris wheel there in the future, but preferably something smaller, like in the 300 to 400 foot range. Up next, we go to Sin City, the one and only Las Vegas, Nevada, to talk about the Polar Coaster. Wait, the Polar Coaster was going to Orlando, wasn't it? Well, in the early 2010s, the Polar Coaster was announced, and many were sold, but none were built. A few, like Atlantic City, Georgia, and of course Orlando, were proposed, but none of those came to be. Orlando's was around 570 feet tall, but did you know there was going to be one even taller? The tallest polar coaster that was announced was going to go to the Las Vegas Strip, right next to the Tropicana Resort. This was going to rise to a maximum height of 650 feet, or 198 meters. This was actually announced by ABC News out of all people, so this was a big deal to say nonetheless. It would feature a massive observation tower at the tippy top, and an elevator lift as opposed to a vertical launch or spiral lift hill like the other ones had. This was going to be the biggest polar coaster by far, and the second tallest coaster to ever be proposed in history. The plans were cancelled due to unknown reasons, but it's a rumor that it has to do with the height of the building and FAA laws. But anyway, where's the first tallest coaster to ever be proposed? Well, look no further than the other side of the Las Vegas Strip to look at the one and only Arrow Fishhook. The year was 2001, and aerodynamics was slowly fading in popularity. The likes of Intamin and B&M have taken advantage of the popularity of Arrow, and Arrow's outdated track, along with outdated models, made it almost obsolete. But in the late 90s to early 2000s, they made a bit of a last-ditch effort comeback, with the 4D coaster, the modern second-gen Arrow Looper like Tennessee Tornado at Dollywood, and finally, the world's tallest and fastest roller coaster. Along X2, Aerodynamics wanted to show that they were still innovating, and they collabed with the Stratosphere Observation Tower in Vegas to create the tallest, fastest, and one of the weirdest coasters of all time. It would consist of an elevator lift, followed by a 750-foot drop. The tallest coaster by comparison in the world right now is only 456 feet tall. Compared to this, that's not even 2/3. This ride was pretty short though, so after going in that drop going at 122 miles an hour, you would reach up into a 415 foot tall vertical rollback and then slide back down. It was a U-shape in the most simple way you could build a coaster this tall. This would be the cheapest option and would have a high capacity as well. They made the gamble, but did they get the jackpot? Well, from the beginning looks, yes, but then they realized that there was some controversy surrounding the ride. Nearby residents of the Stratosphere Tower said that this ride would be way too loud for Vegas residents. Now, I really never got why they complained about this being too loud. I mean, if you live near the Vegas Strip, it's going to be loud 24/7, roller coaster or not. But anyway, I digress. They really did not like this idea, and to remedy it, they made the coaster slightly smaller, and even as a last-ditch effort, put a tunnel over the bottom section to circulate noise. But residents were still annoyed at the concept and didn't want it to be. But the final nail in the coffin was when Aerodynamics went bankrupt in 2002, making the manufacturer not exist anymore. S&S temporarily held the rights to the coaster, but denied the existence of their patent. This roller coaster faded into obscurity, and nothing was ever seen from this proposal again. We have reached the top, the absolute pinnacle of tall thrill rides. The tallest thrill ride ever known to be proposed is Halo New York City. Proposed in June of 2016, this would be an absolutely massive deal, and it would be one of the most innovative thrill rides in history. I've talked about this in videos in the past. In fact, I made a video about this in the past, but I just want to get over it once again because I truly love the design of this and think this would have been one of the best rides ever created. From the looks of it, it just looks like a massive tower with rings on the structure. But those towers in the circular motion consist of drop towers. Now, these range from just observation towers all the way to the extreme drop towers that take you at the force of gravity. These would be made by S&S, and the tallest ones being over 1,200 feet tall, or 366 meters. It would take you all the way up there and then drop you, reaching speeds of over 100 miles an hour. This would be located right in Manhattan, across the street from Madison, at Penn Station. So, what was the problem with this? 1. It was way too innovative and way too expensive. 2. We never really heard anything outside of the initial proposal from the contractors of AE Superlabs. And 3. In 2018, there was a massive proposed remodelation process at Penn Station that would deem this process impossible. Even without the remodelation, I don't think this project gained enough time to be built, but I can imagine it being in that New York City skyline, being one of the greatest thrills of all time. This would have been 3 times as tall as the current tallest standing drop tower, and way taller than even the proposed drop towers I talked about here. This, to my knowledge, is the tallest ride ever proposed. But let me know down in the comments below if there's something taller, and out of all of these, which one would you have wanted to exist? Anyways, this is Cedar Flags, and I'll see you all later.